which was known as Larry D's, now Washington Square. The Ace Hardware, which is now a beauty supply. And the other stores there was a White Hen Pantry, now Tony's. I also managed Surreybrook Plaza, and I did the build out for a grocery store called Claycy's, which was after Bonnie's. Approximately 10 years ago, I sold the property, and when I sold it, the businesses were thriving, they were all successful. Over the years, I've noticed that it's not that way anymore. They've become dilapidated, and so I'm part of the group that rebought them back. And I have some ideas. I've prepared a summary, and I think that I don't believe the village has vendor's licenses. I'm not sure. These people have to get FEIN numbers, so they pay their sales tax. So I thought if the city would adopt a vendor's license, we could get about 30 or 40 jobs. And there would be all different types of businesses in there, competitive businesses, retail sales, clothing, services, tax services, insurance offices, home improvement office, variety, all indoors, and plenty of parking. I'm starting to renovate the building now, starting with the parking lot. And we'll be doing the whole thing, getting it nice. If that building can get, if these people can become licensed. So if the city could adopt a vendor's type of a license at a normal cost, it would start the businesses.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. When you say vendor license, you're talking about?
A business license.
Okay. You're talking about, we have business license, you're talking about for?
A reasonable amount. You see, they're
You said reasonable amount, that's what I'm trying to ask.
$25 or $50 a year.
No. Okay, back up. When you're saying business license, you're talking about for each one of the businesses that you're trying to put into this?
Yeah, each one would have to get a license.
Okay, that's what you said business license.
Right, a license, they'll have a company or a proprietorship.
How many people are you talking about trying to put in?
20 to 30.
20 or 30 vendors?
Mm-hmm. It's an 8,000-foot location. I have an overview in your pictures, shows it.
So this would be for the existing structure that is already there, just to revamp the interior then, per se? And based on the photos provided, you're talking about pretty much having each individual vendor use cubicles to conduct business out of?
So, basically saying like a flea market?
Except it would be new goods, not used things, and nothing, they would deal in fresh closeouts, brand names.
And how would that be managed as far as not bringing in used items? Who would oversee what type of items would be sold there?
Clothing, jewelry, beauty supplies.
What I'm saying is who would be responsible for that? Because what I'm saying is, I mean, the setup is like I've seen like how they do indoor flea markets. So I was just wondering who would be managing and making sure that the individual vendors are selling the products that they are stated for as far as their license?
I would be, my firm, my business, we would be the managers.
How do you anticipate individuals purchasing for their goods? Is every individual vendor going to collect their own monies? Or are you talking about a central checkout location?
They would all have their own taxes.
So you would expect each and every vendor to have their own register?
Evening. I'm trying to visualize what the area is that you plan on occupying. Is it from where the post office is?
Next door.
Next door to the post office, and it extends how far?
Well, when Consumer Drugs was there, it was an 8,000-foot space. It's
Okay.
the same size.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you.
So you're not going to put it where consumers at, you're going on the other side of,
No, where consumers.
okay, so what about the rest of, because you have things in between, so there'll be nothing at the other end?
Well, we're negotiating with the post office to expand. The cleaner is there.
Okay,
We have someone that wants to open up the ice cream and sweet shop. And at the other side, where Bell was,
mm-hmm.
there's going to be a senior operating.
So you're going to do a senior daycare as well? You said senior daycare? No, you said you were going to revamp the inside. What about the outside of the building?
Oh, that's for sure, absolutely everything. But the outside is a brick building. We're just going to put on, we'll make it look renovated.
Right, like a new roof and that, because I know it's like a new roof
New roof and new parking lot.
and air conditioning, because I know Bella's, there was no air conditioning in there.
Well, they didn't turn it on. but it's in
Yeah, they were saying that they had none. So, you know, you want to make sure if you're going to renovate this
there. Oh, absolutely.
building, that it's going to be not the eyesore that it is.
My reputation has always been pretty first class with the products we build.
And what is the name of the firm that you're with? You said that you have other people?
I'm sorry.
You said you were with a firm. I realized that.
First Metropolitan Builders.
Okay.
Mr. Featherman, you would like us to, the Sauk will give like a group discount to the 20 and 30 vendors, is that why?
I'm sorry. Yes, in other words, they're small business people.
They want you to talk in the mic.
They're small business people, and they're going to have to get FEI numbers, and they have to keep their own records if they want to get sales. It's not going to be the same.
So, in other words, you want us to give them, instead of individual license, you want to give a group of them,
No, each one would get their own individual license.
okay? So they get the EIN number. But you asked us something about giving them some kind of group, something,
Well, a reasonable price for the license.
reasonable price for the license. Yeah, so that's a discount for a group.
For each individual vendor.
Right, but it's still the same thing.
Mayor, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but generally speaking, what's the range on our business licenses today that you're asking for a discounted rate?
Okay, first of all, if you're asking, it's a difference between a business license and a vendor license. So if you're asking for a business license, then yes, that's a structure. Or it can be, it can work out of something that is part of the structure. If you're asking for a separate vendor license, Right now, we have them for, machines, we have vendor license. But as far as a vendor themselves, that we don't have vendors that are outside.
I understand that.
Right.
That's why I urged the city to create one.
Okay, and that's what I thought that you were saying, to create a vendor's license. Right
Exactly.
now, for what you're asking for, we don't have
I know.
a license for you to operate inside of a brick and mortar building with separate vendors.
Exactly.
So you're asking for those separate vendors to be licensed, and then quite naturally, the building has to be, everything else has to be taken care of. So that's what you're asking the board, is to create a vendor license so you can do this type of business.
Exactly. You understand exactly what I'm.
Question.
I don't know what discount came in at.
Like candy stores or whatever, wasn't there some type of licensing for that?
If there's a store.
Like a candy store, like in your home, like if you sell it.
Those type of licenses, those are business licenses.
That's still okay.
Because your home is, you can do that. But inside the home, if you have 3 or 4 people in there, then now you don't have that. And it shouldn't be that way. So he's asking you to create something where you can have a building and have different businesses in there, and each one of those businesses have their own license.
Exactly. Pay their own taxes, be responsible for their business.
But the taxes would be up to them, it wouldn't be everything that we would do.
Well, they have to register with an EIN number.
Well, they would have to get that. There's nothing we can.
No, they get that themselves. But we want these people to be licensed. Responsible people business.
I just have one question. You said that it was going to be new goods. Are they gonna have separate vendors of themselves? In other words, if you have, say, Toshiba, you selling television, are they gonna be buying it from a wholesaler? Are they gonna be going to the supplier, Toshiba, to get this? Or where are they gonna get their goods from? Is it gonna be basically like you have a liquor store? You sell liquor, you have to go to a distributor. I mean, where are they going to get?
They get it from jobbers, wholesale places. Clothing, they get, from a wholesale house. Like on Market Street, they have their own places to get them. I'm not sure where they get them, but they buy them and they retail. They buy them wholesale and they retail.
Okay, because
They get
basically.
closeouts, closeouts, first quality closeouts. Like Nike has closeouts and things like that.
Okay, so they're gonna go to outlet stores.
Maybe, I don't know where they buy
Okay.
it.
The reason why I'm saying that is we need to establish that and have records of that. Because basically what you're asking is an indoor mall.
Yeah,
And that's a different type of venue, because it's set up differently than just what you just told us. Indoor malls are set up a lot different. So, I mean, if this is gonna be that type of thing, which indoor malls, each one has their own business, each one has their own license, each one has their own connections. They deal with that person, someone comes in, if they're gonna drop off merchandise, they deal with that. And that's a little different than what we're talking here, but that's something that we have to, because it doesn't exist right now. It's something that we really have to sit back and talk and research. Because it doesn't exist.
I know it doesn't. That's why I urge the city to create some type of a license so that these people can come in and be in business. But now, they're gonna sell shoes, they're gonna sell shirts, clothing, jewelry. I'm sure that if you want to see where they buy them from, invoices, it's gonna be a legitimate business.
No, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be. I'm just saying that That's something that we would have to do research and to actually go out and do something. It won't be on the same guideline as River Oaks is, but you're talking about something close to that in a small scale.
Do you have an idea how long it might take? Because I'd like to get into the remodeling of the building.
To tell you the truth, no, I don't have an idea how long it might take us. I have to first of all research it to see, get some people on it to find out what type of license that exists for that. If not, they have to be recreated and to bring it back to the board, let them know exactly what type of license that is.
Well, maybe I can help you. Certain cities have those licenses already. They're called vendor's license. They're not, they're the right to be in business and sell in the city. I guess some of them may sell from their homes. Some may sell from.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That type of license I'm not familiar with, and that's what I had to do research to find out, because what you're saying conflicts, what you just said conflicts with what you were saying at the beginning. So it kind of have to find out. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I just don't know of a place that it does exist on that scale. But I'm not saying that we cannot do it.
I think we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, we are, but I'm just saying I need to find out though. I just can't say, yes, we're gonna have it done in a month. I need to find out what it entails, what the qualifications are, bring them back to you, let you see what it takes, and then, you know, we can go from there. But right now, I cannot intelligently tell you that it's gonna take X amount of time. But you have just brought this, and we have to create that type, we have to create that. And I don't know all the steps that it takes to create that, even if we can create it, but I'm sure that, we need to know before we go. I can't, like I'm saying, I can't tell
Do
you.
you personally like the idea?
I mean, I like business.
That's what I think.
And so, but I just want to make sure we're doing it properly.
I have a couple more questions and a concern. Concern is that we might have a zoning issue of how this building is currently zoned versus an indoor mall. I would think would be something different. Two questions for you, Mr. Pfefferman. Do you operate any similar enterprises elsewhere, or would this be your first entry into this type of operation? Okay. And then secondly, who would control who rents space from the mall then? Would that be your group? Okay. And you've got guidelines already established for what that would entail?
Well, yes, they have to be checked out well, with background checks, financial statements, background checks, financials, type of thing. Check it out.
Any more questions?
Question. Do you have vendors in mind already? And are they already operating in this same type of environment?
Yes, in Indiana and in Alsip, they have people that type of business, and they're interested in expanding, and they would be hiring people because they can't be in two places at one time. That's how we'll create jobs here. Be hiring local people to work in the stores.
Any more questions? Okay, Mr.
I got another question. Security. I've experienced pretty much what you're talking about, like the 63rd and 65th in Halstead, the indoor mall there, the one on Madison, Pulaski, and normally there's security. Would you be having security in there also?
Yes. We would have a lot of cameras, and like a guard type of person, like when you walk into a bank, it's like a security guard. Same type of thing. There'll be a lot of cash.
Is that it? Any more questions? Mr. President, we will be getting in touch with you. Personally, I would say give me at least, so I can find out the beginning of it, find out when it started out. Give me at least a week, and I'll be getting in touch.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Mr. Sun. I see her back there. Are you here, ma'am? Yes, Miss. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Miss Alice Sun. And you're here in regards to?
Liquor license
Yes.
to open a business up at 2408 Sauk Trail?
Is that the O levels or
Yes.
town tap?
Yes.
Okay. As you know, there is no license for that right now, so every license was sunset as far as for a lounge bar. So, you're asking to have a bar in the village, is basically.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Anyone have any questions?
I've been in the village since 1989. I'd like to bring something back to the village. Something nice, no club type of environment. Geared toward a more mature crowd. Geared towards a more mature crowd, no club type. I'm not trying to attract that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're wanting to go in where Tom's Tap is at?
Yes.
Is that not boarded up?
Yes, it
It's
is.
boarded for security.
Okay, so does renovations have to be made, or, I mean, what are we looking at here?
In order to get a building, I'm sorry, a business license, all that has to be taken care of. Well, in order to get the water turned on, all of that has to be, all the search areas, they have to be taken care of.
Yes, I've already been in there with Ed Myers. We went over everything that needs to be done. And it needs to be, you know, some updating. Sure. Mhm. Oh, okay, okay.
So, because if she gets a business license, she's asking to have a liquor license, and it's a class B license, and that would entitle her to operate a lounge. Basically what they had before. So that has to come before the board to provide that license, in other words, to unrest the sunset license.
What is the sunset license? I'm
No,
not
I'm sorry,
familiar.
sunset provision. I mean, once the license has been dormant, or when, like they did with the two lounges, then there are no license unless the board votes that license.
Okay. And what does it take to recreate that? And
Basically what you're doing,
okay.
having to come up and the board would have to vote on actually making or creating that one license.
Okay.
Basically, they're gonna ask you about what it is you're going to do. You do understand it'd be a 2 o'clock license, it is. But all the other things, background checks and everything, all that has to be taken care of before we even get to that point. Basically, what you're asking is, if everything, in other words, if you take care of all the things you need to take care of, you would like to apply and get that license.
Absolutely.
This is what you're asking the board.
Yes, I'd like to bring something nice back to the village. I think we all deserve it. Is this your first time as a business owner?
Or do you,
Yes.
okay.
Yes, I have 13 years bartending and management experience. I started out at Tui's, Tom's, Wise Guys, Levels, the Moose Lodge. So, you know, the qualifications are there.
Question. How far have you gone in the planning?
What do you mean by
I see you've found the location,
that? Mm-hmm.
and in detail, are you just planning on just a sports bar? Is it just going to be a jukebox in there, or what type of environment are you trying to project?
Somewhat of a sports bar, or, you know, just a place for the residents to come out and get to know people in the community. And I have a couple of people who have approached me already. They're interested in putting in a full kitchen to serve food, and so one step at a time, let me take care of the liquor license first and see where we go from there before I start interviewing people for that.
Thank you.
Again, just so you understand that she's just applying to unseat the sunset provision so the license can be made available. That license is not issued until all the other matters have been met. Background checks, certifications on the building, in other words, you have to obtain a business license. And in order to get that, all of the work that should be done has to be done and signed off on. It's not just one person or the fire marshal or anything like that. It has to be signed off on, electrical, heating, something. Any more questions? That's something that we can vote on, Madam. Anything else?
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next one, item C, free or reduced cost of benches for recycled material. Trustee Zupan.
This isn't going to be a lengthy conversation. This is something that the library had started as part of the community garden, where there were a couple of programs that they had going on. One was the plastic bags, the collections of the plastic bags. So many pounds of plastic bags would get you a free bench. The other is the caps, the collecting of the caps. Lots and lots of pounds of caps would get you discounts on, generally speaking, benches, but I noticed there are also trash receptacles available and tables as well. The library has got what they were interested in receiving through both programs, and this just kind of came back up because I had always been taking stuff over there to them, and they had said, hey, we're not taking it anymore, we've got what we wanted. Public Works has barrels full of caps over at their building. If the village is interested, we're happy to still collect, but, figure it out and let us know, is pretty much what it's come down to. So I reached out to both organizations. What you have in front of you is the CAPS program, ABC, a bench for caps. It's the details around what they take, what they won't take, how much weight in caps will get you a discount on which item, which is on page 5 in the back. These are nice quality items. If you haven't seen them, I would urge you to go over to the library and see the benches that they've received. I have not received the other documentation from the other company, Trex. As soon as I get that, I'll share that with you as well. There's pros and cons to both, right? So obviously, the pro is you're getting reduced or free items. The con is that they're not both free. If you would take a look at this, I don't know if this is something we want to consider. Certainly I would think that we would definitely want to encourage the free program, which is the other one that I don't have the documentation for just yet. But I would like to have us consider this one as well. When you consider that this is recycled materials that these are going to be made out of, obviously our parks and public places could all stand to have benches, trash receptacles, tables. I'd like to have this be something we consider. I don't know if it belongs through Parks and Recs, or if we put it somewhere else, or if nobody is even interested in pursuing this at this point. But the library did mention to me that they even have a credit on file with one of the organizations that they would be happy to transfer that credit over to us, as well as let us have whatever caps are at Public Works already. So just soliciting the conversation, the start of the conversation, happy to answer any questions if I can that you might have at the moment. If not, I would ask that you please take this away and read it and come back with any questions so that we can move forward on this.
Are there any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I had met with the library a couple of years ago, and I had a chance to see the production, or the results of the production of the benches they have. I think it's a good idea. They're getting donations from village residents, and then they're producing these items. The benches are a great idea. We have parks throughout the village, and I'm sure that they could use benches, perhaps tables even. So I think it's a good idea. I'm just concerned about who's going to spearhead this and ride herd on this to make sure it becomes a reality. That's my only concern.
Any other question? I do have a question. Trustee Zupan, on your page 5, if we were to collect 1,100 pounds and we wanted that table, we would need 1,100 pounds of caps plus $550. Is that correct? Okay. So in other words, each one, or maybe it might have been you collect that much or pay that much.
No, that is the reduced. If you think in terms of, and I don't know if any of you have actually gone out and ever looked at some of the different yard benches. You know, I happen to have some Adirondack chairs that are made out of recycled materials. They can be quite pricey, so these are considered discounted prices based on the fact that we are contributing so many pounds of caps in addition to that cost.
I thought maybe if you said, for instance, if we did 1,000, would that reduce that price? But that's their price for that particular item.
Yes.
Okay.
Beth, these also have to be picked up. In other words, when we go to do this, someone has to drive down there to get it, and I want to say it's about 3 or 4 hours
Yes.
to do that.
For this program, that is true. The other program, they will actually deliver the benches to us.
Is that the one with the plastic bags?
Yes.
Okay, because I think they also had credit on that as well.
Yes.
You know, I don't have a problem helping with this, but I'm not going to spearhead it because...
I'm not asking anybody
No.
necessarily to
But I
spearhead
would
it.
be more than happy to help with this. Because you're going to need a truck to go down there, truck and trailer, and it's about 4 hours
Mhm.
to pick this up.
4 hours one way or 4 hours both?
4 hours
Each.
one way.
Yeah, I have a truck that I can actually.
Okay. I mean, that's,
It becomes a matter of, if we're talking, people like this idea, then we're talking about including it somewhere in a budget. For this program at least. The other one, obviously, free is zero cost, so. And the other one, it is my understanding that it operates a little bit differently. With this one, you have to take the caps down to them. You've got to pick up the equipment that you obtain and bring it back. The other, my understanding is that you have to make arrangements with the drop-off point, and locally, the library at least, was using Target in St. John. You have to take the bags to them. You have to keep track yourself of how many pounds of bags you're taking to Target, and really kind of provide your own oversight, but then they will ship the benches to you.
now, was their cost basically the same cost as this one?
Theirs are free. And it's just benches. But again, I don't have the documentation from them just yet. As soon as I get it, we'll have it.
And you, now, I hear the word spearhead. Are you planning, is that what you planning on?
Yeah, I don't have a problem coordinating and taking ownership of it.
Okay.
But if we do decide we want to use this particular program with the caps, then I think we need a home for it from a budget standpoint, and I think that's why I'm looking to Trustee Jones with the Parks and Recs budget for a home for it, if we decide to fund some of these.
Okay. Any other questions? That's something we will definitely consider. Thank you. No, doesn't need to be on this. Nothing has to be voted on. Item D, fundraiser for patriotic flags. Trustee Tate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is the third time we've discussed this, I guess, in bits and pieces, and it's ever evolving. One thing that we heard a couple of meetings ago was the idea of a fundraiser to pay for the flags that that I had proposed. And that's taking legs by itself, because we had someone that stepped forward and said that she would help in the fundraiser. And I'm gonna mess up your name. Betcher. Okay. See, and I had to tell her that ahead of time. But she's willing. What you'll see behind me are blankets that she's capable of making. I'm going to try to move out the way so that everyone can see it. The idea is that she will produce blankets for each branch of service. That's the idea. So you're going to have a unique blanket should you win. Now, the second part of that is we plan on having a raffle. And the prices have not been determined exactly, but we think it's going to be 6 tickets for $5 or something like that. We have not worked out their prices yet because there are other things that go into this. There's an overhead, which is startup money. And that's so that she can get the materials that she needs to produce these. Now, the commitment will be that once we get donations or someone voluntarily gives $150, I think is where we're at right now, we're going to see that you get your money back, I think. But anyway, these are the blankets that she's going to produce for us. Now, I'm kind of getting ahead of things because Trustee Jones is sitting there, and our thoughts, Trustee Jones, is to have the raffle begin at the corn and dog roast. So we'll set up tables, booths, or something there where people can actually come and see these items. They can buy the raffle tickets, and you can start buying your raffle tickets next month if you want to. But we'll have that sitting at the corn and dog roast for people to see, and we'll draw the winning numbers at the corn and dog roast, and people can take their blankets. Now, one thing that we discussed is that if you decide that a member of your family or a friend, let's say, is in the Marine Corps, and you don't want to take a chance on winning the lottery, you can buy it outright if you let us know enough ahead of time, so then she can start producing that purchase for you. And so you don't have to enter the raffle. But we want you to enter the raffle anyway. Maybe you win 2. But that's the blanket. I'm going to have it up here for a few moments after the end of the meeting. If you want to come up and take a look at it, touch it, don't sleep on it, don't step on it. But if you want to do that, it'll be there. So the idea would be, and we can't give you the exact figures now, but the idea would be that we'll have the raffle, and whatever money we collect from the raffle will offset the cost that I gave you guys a couple of weeks ago of the flags and everything that goes with the flags. So it will offset some of that, or all of that, depending on how much money we collect in the raffle. So that's the idea that I think it's a great idea that she came up with, and when she asked to have a raffle, I think it's a great idea. I think it's even greater that she's willing to donate her labor to this endeavor. Now, one thing that we will do, if the board decides that having a raffle is a good idea and we're going to go forward with it, then I will have a volunteer who will be like the middle person. They're going to collect the money for the raffle tickets. They're going to store the money. She will not have control of the money. I will not have control of the money. So it's like a third wheel. But that's the way we want to do it. We want to safeguard any monies that we collect to make sure that it's spent for the intended purpose. that gives her time, if the board approves this, that gives her time to start producing these blankets. And I said they'll be individualized, there'll be Army, Navy, Air Force, all the branches will be separate. Unfortunately, we have the Air Force behind me, but that's okay. If anyone's in the Air Force, don't be offended. But that's what we plan on doing. Now, keeping in mind, all of this is being done so we can get some flags, definitely in here that represents all of the branches of service, that we can get ornaments. And if you look in here, there are broken wings on the American flag and all kind of stuff's going on. So it's to get flags that represent each branch of service in the village hall that we can utilize, especially during Veterans Day. We find ourselves at Veterans Day scrambling, trying to find flags, and it's becoming a pain to do that every time we have Veterans Day. But we're going to try to do that. One final thing that we made, that I need to reach out to the fire chief and the chief of police to see if they would like to have flags at their locations. I'm not sure they want them there or need them there, but I will reach out to them, and so if they in fact want flags, then this will be readjusted, we're gonna add things into it. So again, the plan is for the board to approve the fundraising. That's what we need you to do. I would like to be on the agenda for the meeting, the board, to approve a fundraiser for the flags. And then that way she can start her production. We can start selling raffle tickets and get this underway so that hopefully we'll be ready, or we will be ready by the corner dog roast.
I do have a question, trustee. What's your goal? How much money are we talking trying to raise?
Well, right now the figure is $1,136.40.
Oh, really?
Now, mind you, when I gave out the update on this, this is for 4 and 5 flags. You have each branch of service, plus you have the American flag. Now, what I did do, and I said it was updated. When you look at that flag that we have over there, that's several components. It's not only the flag, it's the flag pole, it's the stand, and for that flag, it's the American eagle on top. So the second document that I gave you guys was to buy that in total. There was a price to buy it in total, or we can buy it piecemeal. If you want to buy eagles, we can buy 5 eagles. If you want to buy 5 flags, you can buy 5 flags, whatever you want to do. It was just more cost efficient from what I found out to buy that set intact so that we aren't worried about anything. The stand, once we get it, the stand and everything comes with it. So looking at 5, actually be 6 sets, because you have 5 branches of service, but you also have the American flag. The American flag would be here and at the senior center unless something else changes. So those are just estimates based upon that rough estimate, but it was $1,136.40.
Any questions?
I have one.
Yes.
You know where you can buy a brick? Go over there, there's a program to buy the brick. Okay. Is part of the money, is it $40 for the brick and there's nothing left over? Or is there some money that, you know how it might be, they're gonna charge you $25 a brick if you're gonna have, $15 in your pocket. That's one way maybe to raise money for these flags, is to buy a brick.
Okay, I'm not sure about the brick. I know nothing about the brick
Well, the
program.
brick program, there's a cost for the brick. We have to take, we usually wait till we get a certain amount, because if we just give 1 brick, quite naturally, have 1 brick done, it's gonna cost a little bit more than if we had 10 bricks done. And then not only that, when we disrupt the area, we like to do at least 5 to 10 at a time, because one, then, it's not a good idea to do. So that's why they're usually 5 to 10 bricks, at least a minimum of 5 to be laid at one time. But your answer to your question is the amount of money, how much is left over, how much does the village make off of that? I am not too sure about that. I don't know, because I did buy bricks, but I never knew what the makeup, how much they actually made on that brick. But we can find out, because if we're, okay, so then it's $15 per brick. Okay.
And so the village kept $5?
No, she said
Oh.
the village kept 15 and 25 went to the company that
Okay.
made the bricks.
Well, I mean, that's a consideration. We can have the raffle as a contributing program for the purchase, and the bricks as a contributing
That can be,
program.
yeah, that can go
We can do both of those, and then like I said, it reduces the cost of the actual units themselves.
So what you're asking the trustees to do is to vote on a raffle for the
Correct.
a fundraiser, to vote on having a fundraiser to raise funds for the flag.
Correct. And the second part is the trustee just brought out possibly, unless it's earmarked for something else, possibly what's ever left from any sale of bricks will also be added into that amount. So it's twofold. The trustees will be voting on the raffle, the fundraising raffle, and then deferring part of the money from the bricks also to the program.
The profit from the bricks, the selling of the bricks will go towards the purchase of the flag. Any other questions?
Do we really need to take it to a vote?
For the fundraiser, you do.
And the reason I ask is.
The bricks is already a program.
Okay.
And that, we can just divert the money to that, that's not
So you're
fair.
voting on the program for funding?
You're voting on the program to have a fundraiser, you're voting to have a fundraiser, that's backed by the bill. Any other questions?
So I'm hearing there would be blankets for each branch of the military, and you're also open to donations of other items to be raffled off, or is that the extent of it? Okay, and then I thought I heard you say that there was some upfront money needed for supplies, and then did you have something in mind for how you were gonna get the raffle tickets printed?
We're just going to make it very easy. We're going to buy I'm sure you've seen the raffle tickets you can purchase that says this coupon submitted, hold on to the other half of it. They're like double raffle tickets that you can buy in most commercial stores. They cost about $2 for 100 or something like that. So we just wanted something real simple. We're going to have anything printed. We just want to have something real simple and real inexpensive to do this with.
Trustee, what is the cost per blanket to start up? And then I know you want the flags by Veterans Day. So when are we going to end the fundraiser? Is it going to be October-ish? I'm assuming.
Well, this just came up tonight about the corn and dog rolls. So I could give a definite date at the next board meeting, but it'd be prior to the corn and dog rolls when we cut off sale of the raffle tickets. So maybe a week or two prior to that.
We can sell the corn and dog roll.
You can sell the corn?
I'm sorry. The idea is they will be on display at the corn and dog rolls. There will be a container in front of each one of them. People will buy the little raffle tickets and drop their raffle tickets in the containers. So it will be finished and complete at the corn and dog rolls, because that is when you will actually pull the nails.
All right, thank you. Everyone hear that?
Okay. I do have a question about that part of it. So you're saying that only time we're gonna sell tickets at the corn and dog rolls? Because what happens with tickets prior sale? Next week we say yes, beginning of next month we start selling tickets.
What would happen there it's possible that people who would purchase would not necessarily be there when their name is called, and it would become very labor intensive to continue to pull.
No, my question is, you just said that you're gonna have the blankets displayed. If I buy a ticket in July, and I'm just buying a ticket to get a blanket, I don't know which one because the blankets may not be made by me, but I'm just buying a ticket to support the cause in July. The draft drawing is gonna be in September. How do I know where, you just said that you're gonna have a bucket in front of each one of the blankets. I mean, I thought it was just, because now it's a little different than what you stated. So what happens to those people that buy tickets before the corner dog roast and want to buy a blanket, what are their tickets on?
Is it okay if Ms. Belcher,
Well, she has to come up here. She can't talk from that.
you can't talk from the back? This is the individual who volunteered to make the blankets and who suggested we have the fundraiser.
Well, then she should do the presentation.
Okay, we can start all
She
over.
shouldn't. If you take and somebody buys one of the tickets, put your name and number on the back of it, say which armed service you want to go in, and that's where it'll go.
Okay, so therefore on the ticket, they can
Put
use
your
brand
name
new
in.
service. Okay, there we go.
Question, what's the cost to produce one of these blankets?
Really want it.
Well, I know
It's
labor
gonna be
don't-
close to $50 per blanket.
So we have to reimburse you for the $50 for, labor's free, well, donated, and,
I am donating that blanket. I
okay.
do have someone else that will donate a blanket. So if we can collect the other 150, that would be great. If not, I'll figure out something. I always do. And we're going to have other prizes also.
Oh,
I spoke to Calvin about something that I'm gonna work on, and hopefully we can get a liquor basket. But it's a big draw.
sounds like you'll have enough money to buy a flag.
And,
No, we're gonna get donations for the, oh, yes, I agree. And I'm going to do candy baskets
Oh, yeah.
because the children want to be involved. And we'll do candy baskets at like 2 for $1.
Now, will all this be available at the corner
At the
dog?
corn roast.
Okay.
Because you know, the kids are gonna be like, not $100. We'll probably make more on the kids' baskets than we will on anything else.
I don't know, the liquor basket.
I'll see who I can shake for other prizes.
oh,
But
one more question. Do all blankets have to be that size? Can they maybe be cut in half and we spend the same amount for materials and we get 2 blankets out of that? Is that possible?
No.
it is possible, but you're not gonna want it any smaller than that for an adult. That's 2 yards, and when you're done, that's what you end up with, over
That's
2
what-
yards.
That's
So
not,
Air Force.
that's not even big enough. Yeah.
I mean, I did have one that I made for an infant that was less than half in size, and that was a cup. But I can do different fringing on them also. Instead of tied, I can do a sewn and then just cut the fringe in there so that you get the knots. There's a couple of different ways I can do it.
It should be noted that that's a little less labor intensive than if you had to sew the individuals together. So I don't think she's volunteering her time. I don't think we should make it any more difficult.
All right, so if this passes the vote next Tuesday, I'll challenge the board to each come up with $20 apiece, the mayor and clerk come up with 15 apiece, and there's your $150.
Okay.
You said 20 a piece in the book, and man, I didn't.
Everybody 20 and then we got the money
And I just want to give a reminder toward, do you remember at the Easter egg hunt? Those baskets that was made out of all made out of all candy with the yellow, with the peeps in it and all that? She made those. Yeah. So the kids would look forward to a lot of sweet baskets for if she makes them. So
I'd just like to say, that's a great idea, but I would love to see some flyers made, so we can pass them out to the business. Okay. Any more questions? Any more questions? I will have that on the agenda as well for next week. We have a fundraiser. Okay, E, a budget proposal brought to us by our clerk, Martha Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your package, you have a memo and a proposed budget request for the village clerk office. I know that it's not typical that the village clerk in the village of Sauk Village has a separate budget line. However, know that the vast majority of other municipalities actually have a budget line for the village clerk's office so that they can entertain professional development and some of the specialized commodities that that office require. Since I have been village clerk, I have been purchasing different types of paper, the paper that's hole punch, that's not our typical consumable that we would use in the village, but it really, really helps not to have to hole punch each individual sheet. But likewise, though, the return of the value is you are organized as we come to these meetings. Our minutes have not been bounded in forever, and so that required specialized materials as well. So I've been having to go to the mayor on a regular basis asking for individual items that we do not customarily use. So as I go to some of the meetings, and I have gone to 5 up to this point that have been paid for out of pocket, I'm learning that in other areas they do have a budget. In your packet, you have the 3 clerk organizations that many of the successful clerks in villages are usually a member of. One of them is the Municipal Clerks of Illinois. Another one is an international group, and then the other one is a regional group that gets together on a monthly basis as well. So the proposal that I put in, because I do know that it is budget time, and I did not want to miss the opportunity to at least ask for consideration. The figures that I presented, they are negotiable. Know that I am willing to meet some of those expenses, especially the travel expenses, because it is a little steep. But this is what I'm asking for. I'm asking you to consider it as you further develop the budget. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Any questions?
Question. How would this proposed budget be any different from what we already have for finance and administration? For what we already have proposed on professional development?
We do not have a budget line for the village clerk position. So rather than to constantly come before you asking permission to attend a particular training or professional learning experience, I would have to be responsible for which ones I attend, which one I budget out of my own personal budget from home. I would have greater opportunities, I think, with less.
For example, if you do apply for a membership out of your own pocket, but you are reimbursed, correct?
No,
You're not reimbursed?
no, I've not been reimbursed for anything. And that's what I'm saying. With some of the travel, I would assume some of that responsibility. I would not be expecting to be reimbursed. I would not go over budget and know that just because the figures are there does not mean that I would be raring to utilize every penny and every dime that's in this budget. I am willing to meet us at least halfway.
Mhm.
But we have to start someplace.
I was curious to know where you came up with your travel number.
I communicated with a number of the other village clerks throughout the municipality, and I asked them to share their budgets with me. And I looked at some that were on the lower end, the majority were on the higher end, and I came someplace in the middle.
And then in reviewing the document, the last page for the local association, they've got annual dues, but then they also charge a monthly meeting fee on top of the annual dues?
Yes. I mean, but how is that different from Illinois Municipal League? We pay a membership to them, but then when we go to their conferences, we still pay registration fees and everything.
Yeah, but I think an annual conference is different from monthly meetings. Maybe it's just me. Because you're paying way more if you go to every monthly meeting than you are in your annual dues. You know, your annual dues is slightly more than what one meeting would run you.
So,
Your annual dues for that organization is slightly more than what one meeting would cost you to attend. They'd be better off increasing their annual dues to say $500 a year and dropping the monthly meeting fee.
now, with that one, the monthly meeting, that's negotiable as well. I mean, if the village pays the membership fee, that would be fine. And I would be willing to pay the monthly. I just can't afford to do it all. And it is beneficial to the village for me to communicate and to belong to these organizations. So since it is, I would like for the village to foot some of that bill as well.
And then I guess my other question translates into the supply line item, asking why that's not part of just the general office supplies. Wouldn't that just fall under any of the other supplies that we're ordering around the office here as those are needed?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, actually, I guess I am asking you that one versus the clerk.
We've had this conversation, so I told you to bring it to the board.
Okay, and just as an FYI, this is just me, and I'm a little less, ingrained in this than the rest of the board is, but I find that I'm not keeping my things in the binder, so the fact that you're going to the expense of buying pre-punched paper, I'm not sure if that's the best use of those funds. But that's just me.
Any other questions?
The only thing, and I discussed this with the clerk real briefly, for the village as a whole, we're spending a lot of money going to local stores for supplies, be it paper clips or staples or anything of that nature, even rock salt that we'll be using. In the state of Illinois, they have something called the Central Management Services, which has considerable discounts on all of that stuff. So I think if we joined that state association, we could save a lot of money on stuff that's used every day here in Village Hall, be it copy paper or ink pens. I just think that's something that should be looked into.
Any other questions?
Well, I'm just looking to see what is the benefit? What will we be getting more of from you attending a lot of these meetings? And as far as the budget, what is the big gain that we will get versus you not going? I mean, if you don't get the budget, will we be missing something? Or I'm just trying to find where is this gap at that we need to create a new budget for the clerk that we haven't had in the past. I just want to see what the difference would be.
Thank you for that question, Trustee Jones. And I'm going to turn that question right back around at you and ask, how does the village benefit from all of the trustees attending the IML annual conference as many years as you've been? Is that a benefit to the village? I'm asking. Is attending IML a benefit? And if so, how? These organizations are very comparable. In fact, the Municipal Clerks Organization is run by the Illinois Municipal League. So the same type of resources, knowledge, updated law information that you get when you attend those conferences are the same type that we receive when we go to a conference or a meeting dedicated to clerks.
Well, I can't speak for all elected officials that attend IML, but when I went the first time, I only went one, there was a lot of information and a lot of ways to obtain grants that for like new playgrounds and such that I haven't heard here that they were explaining there. And once we do get a budget, the state, and we're working through the state, when monies are released, then we would be able to go after some of those grants that I learned about in IML. But that's just speaking for me. I don't know what other trustees or other elected officials do when they go down there. So I can't, speak on who's bringing what and who's learning what for it, or is it just a social hoopla shaking hands? That's, that depends on the individual basis and what do you want to get out of it. Are you attending? Are you taking notes? Are you trying to better yourself in the position that you're in? That solely depends on each individual. What I got out of it, I got a lot of good information out of it that I didn't have, that hasn't been talked about, that I still have all the information for, and when the time is right, it will be utilized.
On June 3rd, a couple of us attended a newly elected officials training. That Saturday, the first Saturday of this month. And when I came back and I gave my report at the last meeting, I spoke on that meeting. And I talked about information that we received that was beneficial. Those areas that they talked about that applied to specific individuals, I brought those resources back to them. So when I attend a conference, I look at the resources. I'm not there for socialization, certainly not. You know, I'm there for the knowledge, the resources, what's happening, how to conduct oneself in the boardroom, you know, what's proper, what's legal, but then I also am one who truly believe in sharing the information. So as I go, and as I said, I've gone to 5 already since May, okay? And I utilize the knowledge that I receive. I share with those who it's applicable to. I don't labor each one of you with everything in a very lengthy report, but I go individually to each person. And I would continue to do so.
Mr. Mayor, one more question. In previous budgets and the new budget that we have, there is a line item for professional development, correct?
Yes.
And is the village clerk included with those in mind? Is she kept in mind when we create that line item, so whatever conferences she wants to attend or can attend, that she may be able to do so? Because that's under finance and administration, right? So should she fall under that?
I have to look and see which one you're talking about. There is a line item for professional development. There's a line item for publications and memberships also that pertains to elected officials.
Is there one for travel?
Not that I know of. Not as far as elected officials?
Yes.
No, not for travel.
So that's something that's paid out of pocket and they will not be reimbursed.
I mean, if you're traveling somewhere, I mean, it would have to be, you know, I never saw anything, there's nothing in there as far as, the reimbursement would come after a vote, that would have to be voted on, that you have to, you know, that you're gonna travel for whatever financial, I'm not gonna, you know, just say, okay, someone can travel. I mean, you're spending money. Anytime you spend money, I want to make sure that the board knows about it and votes on it. Any other questions? Okay, she's asking to have this put on the agenda next week to be voted on.
I'm sorry, I wasn't necessarily asking for it to be on the agenda. I just really would like for it to be entertained as you're developing the budget. I thought that's all I was doing. Asking that as you're developing your budget for the upcoming year, that this be entertained.
This is a new item that's not on the budget.
So it needs to go.
To be placed on there. And it can be, I mean, it's up to the board to vote on what you're asking for, to have a budget. That has to be voted on by the board to have something that did not exist. It didn't exist, so.
Okay.
I'm just asking, can you put this on the
I sure can.
next week to be voted on for her budget? Okay. Item F, ordinance adopting prevailing wage standards. Did everyone get a chance to look at that? Basically what it's saying that every year we have to keep up with government and adopt a prevailing wage sector. If you look through closely, you'll see some of the different jobs, and it'll show how much they pay. We just have to make sure that we follow that when we hire or when we have work done, because we have to pay prevailing wage. So this is something that the village has to adopt each and every year. You can look through it. I'm sure you had a chance to look through it to see what the different trades and the different workers get paid in the state. And all they're asking us to do is to vote to uphold the prevailing wage. Are there any questions? Yeah. Oh, you need a mic. Okay.
Well, what I was looking at, it said the ordinance opting out of the Cook County minimum wage.
No, this is prevailing wage. This is not the, this is the one that says, an ordinance adopting prevailing wage standards in the village of Sauk Village, Cook and Will County. Do you have this?
Yes, I'm talking about on the agenda. We,
We're not,
okay, okay. That's it.
Question.
yeah.
Mr. Mayor, generally, you give us a list, it has a list attached for all the different trades.
Yeah.
However, generally, when we need something done, don't we usually go out to a contractor and they would have to pay the prevailing wage?
But we're saying that we will uphold.
Uh-huh.
Every year we have to vote to uphold because every year the wage goes up. So what we have to do, we're voting now, or we're have an ordinance that states that we will pay the prevailing wage for different items and different services that need to be done. If we have a higher electrician, we're going to pay that person the prevailing wage, and this is what the prevailing wage is. So we have to put that, because every year it changes, every year it goes up, so we have to pay what it is for this particular year.
Okay. It's generally the vendor who's going to pay the electrician, right?
No, we do. I mean, we have work done.
We have to call, we'll call
We have to work,
different.
yes, and we have work done here in the village, and we call someone, we have to make sure that they are a person that's licensed, and that's what the prevailing wage we pay that fee to have services done in the village.
Okay.
We cannot go and get someone to come in and just say, you know, we have to pay, they have to be licensed and bonded.
Do we have any on board?
Any what?
You know, tradesperson
No,
or anything like that?
No, we don't. This is when we go out and have work done. Right now, we don't have anything that would constitute that, but we have to have this on the books and stuff. This is basically housekeeping that we have to take care of every year. Any other questions? Madam Clerk, you put this on the agenda to be voted on next week. The second ordinance is basically what Trustee Jones was stating. This ordinance is for a minimum wage and sick time within the and that's what you were talking about as far as opting out. And yes, what this is, if you read it, I know you just got this one today. So what I want you to do is, everyone to get a chance to look at it. I'm going to pass around some information that gives you a little bit more insight. And you can understand why we're doing that. Yes.
Sorry, I tried to glance quickly before the meeting to see what the difference was between the two originals that were in my pack versus what I received prior to the meeting tonight. And I couldn't tell a difference. Is there a substantial difference or not much of one?
The first one that you got had home rule. We're not a home rule. So the first sentence it stated it was home rule. So I had to, it was printed incorrectly. So it states in the ordinance that we are a duly organized and existing municipal corporation. You have the new one that you.
Okay, I see where it's the first whereas.
Yeah.
Okay, but the ordinance itself still has conflicts with certain home rule
Because
ordinances.
we're not, right, it says conflict with certain home rule counties ordinances. We're not home rule, so there is not applicable to us.
All right, so it's just that very first
Yes,
whereas
that was
statement.
the first one,
Okay.
absolutely. And if you read this one I just passed out, it kind of explains to you why most of the counties, most of the villages in or cities in Cook County are opting out of this minimum wage and sick leave ordinance. I have 3 businesses that had asked us that do business here in the village because it hurts their ability to do business. And read one of them, and it's, does everyone know where Minority Auto Handling Specialist is located? Where the warehousing is located, that's the, if you go down Sauk Trail, you make the left turn on the other side of 394, past Harper, the next industrial park in. They came and asked us, and also WinPAC came in and asked us about opting out. 85% of the communities in Cook County have opted out. And I just wanted to read one of the businesses that do business, and their address is 22401 Sauk Point Drive in Sauk Village. It reads, Dear Mayor Burgess, as you are aware, Cook County has adopted a forced paid leave ordinance which mandates any employer in Cook County to provide earned and paid leave, sick leave for their employees. Unfortunately, this mandated ordinance comes at a time that these additional costs cannot be passed on to the consumer and will hurt our business. Your jurisdiction can opt out, and we are requesting that you consider doing so as soon as possible. It is our belief that Cook County and the state of Illinois, both of which are fiscally irresponsible and are now mandating this policy without ever considering the additional payroll, timekeeping, and other associated costs for each employer. If in instituting these policies, the employer makes a simple mistake, they can be sued and or have complaints filed in which substantial penalties will be inflicted on the employer, such as damages, interest costs, and reasonable attorney fees. Plaintiffs' law firms will have a field day now, filing numerous lawsuits seeking triple damages. Our company is again requesting that our municipality exercise its discretion and opt out of these mandated policies. And this is the general manager for that corporation. And I have another one from RK Trailer Repair. And then WinPAC, I went there for a visit, and they asked us to opt out too. A lot of the communities are doing so because what is happening is mandating that they have sick time paid to their employees, and right now a lot of them just are not doing sick time, so they're making it mandatory. Cook County has tried to make it mandatory, but each municipality can opt out of that particular aspect as far as sick time or labor. Are there any questions? And also, you got something that I gave you guys also, so you can read that over too, and have a better explanation. Yes.
On page 2, if I'm not mistaken, it indicates that when there's a conflict, the prevailing Article 3, Article 7, the Illinois Constitution prevails, right? On page 2 at the bottom. So we need to opt out anyway. It says we have the, we can't prevail, so we need to opt out too. Okay.
Right, municipal ordinance.
We don't have an ordinance? No, Mr.
Yes.
We did not, okay. But still, it says in the Illinois Constitution that if we don't have ordinance, that we should follow the Illinois Constitution. So then we have to have,
that's what we're,
we're
opting out. Yeah. Well, we're putting it on the agenda.
Right.
To be voted on to opt out.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right, Madam Clerk, if you add that to the agenda also. The last one is the 911 ordinance approved the intergovernmental agreement between, between us and the 911, which, as you know, and you may not know, that's CalCom. So we have to have a 911 agreement in order. We have an agreement. This is just to, if you read it, it's just to enter into this agreement with them. It's nothing that is going to cost us anything, but we're already paying for 911, I'll put it that way. But we're entering into an agreement with them. We have no other, basically we have no other choice. I personally have reservations, but It's either this or nothing, so we have to enter an agreement with someone. Right now, we have an agreement with CalCom, so we're just adding our 911, which they're already doing that. So this is just something that they added because they added on the city of Posey, because at one time Posey and the city of Markham. At one time it was just Cal Park, Midlothian, and Sauk Village. So they redid the ordinance and added Posey and the city of Markham.
Mr. Mayor, before previous administration, there was some conversation about, you know, the contract. When is the contract ending with CalCom for Sauk Village?
Roughly May of next year.
Has anybody looked into, I noticed that all of the suburbs in this particular ordinance are like southwest. We're the only one in southeast. Is there any corporation southeast, maybe Linwood or Glenwood or something, that we could be more directly, directly connected to? Because, you know, residents are calling, they say, oh, we have so many problems because of CalCom and all this sort of stuff. So are we looking into getting something that's more in our area, southeast, you know?
Okay, we're talking two different things. However, what you just stated, yes. This is 911 board. It's a little different than the dispatcher itself. And to tell you the truth, we are right now looking, because the state has changed some of their regulations, and they're only going to fund X amount of dispatchers in the state of Illinois. So we may have no other choice but to. So you're right, we're looking at something, we have something in the works. When we get that close to be feasible, I will bring that back to the board. But you're absolutely right, we're looking to change because of the way the state is funding. As we all know, there is no budget, so they're consolidating a lot of things. And I'll say that for last, as far as IDOT and other jobs that are going on in the state right now that are being put on hold. So, but yes, we are definitely looking for that, and we may have no choice but to look elsewhere because of the way the state is paying their bills or not paying their bills, lack of. Is there any other questions on the 911 agreement? If not, put that on the agenda. Thank you. As I stated before, item I and J, the strategic plan and the financial policies. I'm going to keep bringing it up until, well, I will be starting it pretty soon, and starting some of the things that you saw in there. And I will be implementing some of the things that are part of that. But I just going to continue to ask, does anyone have any add-ons, takeaways, or any ideas or anything that they saw in there? Just so, you know, if you can write them down or bring them up or give them to me, I'll definitely look at them. And so if there's something in there that you have a question about, just wanted to make sure that, you know, that I can give you possible and time to look it over and move on with that. Okay, number 4, public comment. All questions and comments shall be directed to the mayor. Each speaker may comment on any matter pertaining to the business of Sauk Village. Each speaker is allowed one opportunity to speak up to 3 minutes and may not engage in debate. Mr. One, please put a microphone up there, please.
I have 4 questions. My name is Jan Clark. I live on Landis and down. Concerning the first gentleman who spoke on a proposal for Surrey-Brook Plaza, I feel very strongly about our post office. Our post office has been in that building for a while, and a lot of people fought to get us a post office. Now, if they're asked to leave just because other businesses want to use that facility, I don't think it's right. And I'm afraid I am afraid that we will have it taken away, like they were going to do at one time. So, these are just my opinions, okay? Next comment about the bricks. It was mentioned that each brick has had a $15 profit. Where did that money go? Did it go to a certain account? Is there a brick account? Did it go to general fund, water fund, whatever? I'm just curious, okay? Next question. What is the requested budget for the village clerk? Since I'm sitting in the audience and I don't have all your information. What is Martha asking for the budget? And my last comment is concerning the opt-out. I've been a salaried employee. I've been an hourly employee. I've worked many jobs, and I think employees should be paid minimum wage. I don't care if they're a waitress. I don't care if they work at a car wash. I think employees should be paid minimum wage, even though it's going to be harder for the employer. I know P.L.A.N is doing us a big favor by moving out here. I know they have a lot of employees. They're probably the biggest employer that we have, and that's my assumption. And yeah, it's going to cost them money to do something extra for their employees. Now, this is not just P.L.A.N, but all the companies that are in the village. I am not for opting out. I'm for their employers having some day that they're sick that they should get paid and not possibly reprimanded. And that's about it, okay?
Yes, Ms. Clark. Let me try to start back at the post office. Post office is not legal.
Okay, if he were
No,
to...
he didn't say the post. He was trying to give you where it was going to be located, next to the post office, going east. So no, the post office, to my knowledge, no, the post office is not legal. As far as the brick profit, the $15, I've been a trustee for 6 years, 11 years, and I've been out here. Very good question. I cannot answer that. Where did the money go for the profit of the $15? I'm sure it went somewhere.
It's only a small amount.
Well,
Yeah.
it's still money. It went someplace. I see my trustee is waving her hand, so.
The bricks were originally implemented as a program, as a fundraiser, back with the 50th anniversary of the Veterans Memorial. So at that point in time, it went towards the Veterans Memorial.
Okay.
After that was implemented, it probably just went into the general fund, along with everything else.
Okay. So
She's saying that because she
originally...
used to be the village clerk at the time, so but I didn't even know we made $15 on it. I didn't. As far as the budget for the village clerk, the amount that she was talking about, I think it was $4,300. And then as far as opting out of the minimum wage, I know what you're saying. I've been a union worker all my life. I've been a worker all my life. And what's happening nowadays, our businesses are not does not want the government to dictate what and how they make their money, and they're too big. A lot of these businesses don't even have unions anymore because they want to be able to operate under their own, but they're going to bring jobs. But you have to take one without the other. If you opt out of one, in other words, the way the law is written, it's not opt out either or, it's opt out, period. So if you like the sick time but don't like the minimum wage, you cannot pick and choose. You have to opt out of that particular agreement period for the state. And they do that on purpose. That's how they categorize and put it together. So you don't have that opportunity or that chance. But a lot of businesses out here are not, it's not that don't, now WinPack itself, I can tell you, I can rest assured and tell you that the employees there make much more than minimum wage. They do. So a lot of places that don't have unions don't want, but then again, most places that I know of, talking about industrial parks, are making more than minimum wage. But you're right, all these years since, I'm sure that you know, waitresses have never made minimum wage. Matter of fact, they make maybe $2 or $3 an hour, but they make money in tips. So that's their free hand to do, because they're not even paid minimum wage. And if you go to places that are service-oriented, like Las Vegas, they don't make minimum wage, but they make money on tips. So that gives them that freedom. Because if they made minimum wage, 9 times out of 10, the tips would, because they would have to raise the prices because they're good for what they're doing in order to pay that. So it's not a total. I understand what you're saying, but in order to attract certain things in your community, you have to kind of work with the businesses. Not that you're selling out, but you have to work with the business.
I just wanted to state my opinion. Thank you.
I understand. Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
I don't know.
Hi, I just want to draw a comparison, especially after I found out that a budget is requested for $4,300 for the village clerk, nothing against the current clerk. But I wonder if there's anything going to be on Facebook to know about that? Because I remember a trip to Washington that somebody paid for out of their own pocket, and it's still being discussed on Facebook. That's all I wanted to say. Comparison.
Thank you.
It was good before and now it will be bad. We have a problem in our neighborhood with drug houses. And I know that we have a program, and I don't know if that's the correct word, where a lot of the suburbs in the area, the landlords are held responsible for their renters, and if they're doing illegal things, that we have a legal recourse to make them atone for this and get them out. And since that is our ordinance, I believe is an ordinance. Since that's an ordinance, why aren't we enforcing it? We need to enforce our ordinances that are in place already. That house that I'm talking about has been raided a couple of times. I walk out of my house and the man is staring me in the face, daring me to say something while he is making a drug deal in front of me. By the time I call the police, it's already over. I mean, there's no catching up. We need to do something with these houses, and it is a rental house. The other thing is, we have an ordinance about people walking in the streets and daring you to hit them. Let's enforce our ordinances. That is my problem. I don't want to hit somebody.
Back to what you said about the drug house, we do have a ordinance, crime-free housing. And I'm glad I don't know, maybe you might have been hurt or fly on the wall, but just today, I talked to the chief about that. And I told him that we need to clamp down. In other words, I want to see some results. We have the ordinances on the books. If you have an infraction, X amount of time, we go to the landlord. If it's a subsidized housing, they take that away from them. But we penalize, and then we can go to the state and then have their certificate of the owner revoked. So I told them I want to start seeing some of that because you have to lead by example. If we start seeing something happen, I'm sure, I won't say it'll stop, but it'll bring awareness. So yes, I'm glad you said that because that was going to be something I was going to talk about later on. But yes, we have talked. I have talked to the chief. I wanted to see something on the streets. It's summertime now. And we have to show a presence. Not saying that we're going to have martial law, but as you just stated, there are ordinances on the books. They're on there for a reason. Let's start using it. And as far as street walking, that's always been a problem. But I'm going to tell you what I'm trying to implement in the police department is something called community service. And street walking is a ticket. And tickets have violations and penalties. And what I want to enact as a community service, instead of putting your child, giving them a record, sending them a marker, we give you an infraction. We signed up, you sign up, and you come and do hours, community hours for the village, for your ticket. Now, if you don't show up, quite naturally, it goes down the mark. So it's something that we're going to try to implement, and it's going to be done soon, before the end of next month. So, but however, the state is already throwing a monkey wrench in for us to take care of more of our moving violations. In other words, Markham and those places are not funding those. They're going to tell us we have to have it in our local courts. So a lot of that, we will be getting more and more of that. And then, what I want to do is I want to enact this for people that actually have a minor ticket. I mean, as far as what I was talking about, community service. But we will be doing a lot of our moving violations here instead of Markham. I guess they're cutting back, which they all are in the state. So, but the thing is, they're not giving us money to have court. So we have to get ours from whatever. So those are some of the things they're shutting down. They haven't had a budget in 3 years. You know, they're shutting down. They're stopping a lot of services. But your idea, yes, crime-free housing, we do have it on the books. I did talk to them about it. Every week I have a meeting with the department heads, and every week I give them something that I would like to see done in that. Any more questions? Thank you. Okay, we'll go to questions. I'm sorry, general comments of the Board of Trustees and the Mayor. I'll start with Trustee Linda Todd.
I just want to remind everyone that next Thursday, which is the 29th, there's going to be an ordinance review committee meeting at 7 o'clock here at the Village Hall. Also, I just want to let you know that I'm also going to attend, and I'm paying for this myself, so I save money for the village, to the IML newly elected officials course in Bolingbrook. So that's all I have. And thank you for the rain.
Since we're talking about the foreign dog roast, we're gonna jump right to that. Parks and Rec Committee, we have come up with a date, and that is September 16th for the corner dog roast. We also have a Summerfest that we are planning for July 15th. This is friends, family, fun, and food. This would be basically a community gathering. Bring your grills, come out, mix and mingle, get to know each other, drag your neighbors out, come out to the park, And we're gonna provide music. We're working on several other activities. We're gonna have games. And we're working with someone from Prairie State too that's trying to bring a few vendors out, like the DuSable Museum. It's a mobile museum. We're trying to bring that out, and pony rides. And we just want to bring each other, just come out and get together, get to understanding one another and mixing and mingling without any agenda, just to come out and have fun. And hopefully we could get that well attended. But flyers will be out shortly. And volunteers are always needed. So if you want to volunteer for that, or corn and dog roast, please let me know. We also have open gym this Saturday from 11 to 2:30. And summer camp, we're in the second week of summer camp. It's going pretty good. Not as many kids as last year, but we still have a good amount of kids, and more are signing up every day. So, and we have different, I would say that's part of the plan, some of the plan that you implemented in your, the strategy plan, some of the things that we have encountered with the program with Parks and Recs, and trying to expand on it, make it safer for the kids, and put some things in place where we can grow it in the future. So we've already kind of started on that, I believe. So I think next year, I think we'll have a pretty good kickoff, a good push to start it off with a little bit better. And that is all that I have.
Thank you, trustee. You have a question?
Since we have I heard you say pony rides, and then the summer camp, how do we operate with liability for the village when we're having all these outside activities, I should say?
They carry their own licenses. And last time we had, that's what I wanted to speak, we had a vendor application. What was done with the vendor's applications and what was asked of them from the vendors, I'm not quite sure. So that's something that we're going to need to look into to find out, to make sure that insurance and everything is being met. I mean, we already spoke upon we have encountered insurance portions of a lot of things. So that's something that will be looked into, but most establishments carry their own insurance. It's just the matter of them providing the information to us that they have insurance.
Can we keep them from doing whatever they do until they provide us information that they are insured and that we as a village have no liability?
Absolutely.
Yeah, before they come out, they have to show insurance. So, you know, it's nice that we have that, but before we let them even come out, we have to have a copy of their insurance and their liability, and they should be having each person that rides the horse sign off. In case something happens to them, you know, they should have a waiver, yes. Especially when it comes to that. As far as the vendors, those are one-day vendor license, so they're only good for that one day.
Okay, again, if there's an incident of food poisoning with these vendors, what is our liability?
Well, that's one thing I have to talk to Trustee Jones about, because he said bring out your grill. So if you're bringing out your grill, then you're cooking for just you, you're not cooking for everyone else. But if a vendor's there selling something, then yes, they have to have a license.
This is just like a block club event. This is not meant to sell food unless you are planning to be a vendor of some sort, and then you would have to go through a whole different.
Okay. No, I mean, the concept is good. I just want to make sure that we're not getting ourselves in the middle of getting sued for something.
I'm gonna make sure of that. That's it.
Go ahead.
Trustee Jones, is this the venture you started with Camille? She's newly elected from Prairie State?
Yes.
A trustee, and Dee Thompson?
Trustee Tate?
Is that it? Okay, and I've got to back up a little bit, because the last couple of weeks have been trying, because I've been involved with a village resident who has structural problems with their home. It's something that allegedly the village did in tearing down the home. I'm trying to figure that out and get documentation on it. Now, I spoke with former Housing Commissioner Gary Holcomb, and I want to just dismay some of the things that we were heard. We were told that he was fired and told that he could no longer have the program when you became mayor. And I asked him those questions, and it turns out that the individual who stood up in this meeting and talked about Gary Holcomb being relieved of duties and all that stuff is not true, according to him. Now, he did state that former elected officials told him those type of things, but he did not get that information from you directly. So that goes on with the other part of that, is that the Housing Commission commissioners resigned from their positions. Now, former Commissioner Holcomb stated they came in together, so it was decided they would leave together. So that was his comment. It had nothing to do with anyone else being involved in that conversation. So I'm just saying that people stand up and say all these things when they're not true, and then other people take it and run with it. So we have another incident of people lying and hoping someone takes it up and runs with it. But I met with former Commissioner Holcomb to get that straight, because I was concerned about him being fired or being relieved of his duties and that type of thing. So I did have that conversation, but that piggybacks on some building issues that are occurring, that exist, and I should say not occurring, that exist in Sauk Village, that will need to be addressed in the near future. And as I stated, all of this came about because of one resident who had issues, and I've been meeting with her for last week and again this week, trying to find out what to do with the issue. And the issue was that, did the village authorize demolition of a piece of property, or was it Cook County that authorized demolition of the property? As you recall, the county came out, I guess the last year or two, and demolished houses out here that were uninhabitable. So that was the county's call and not necessarily the village's call. So that issue, I think, will have to be taken up with the county, who went through the demolition of the properties. Now, also, the individual that said that Gary Holcomb was fired and all this other good stuff, also stated that that was so I can take over the Housing Commission. Let me tell you directly, that is not true. I have not talked to anyone about taking over the Housing Commission. I have no desire to take over the Housing Commission. So I want that to be stated, for that's the fact that the person lied on me, which I take offense to, but then they lie all the time. So that's is a straight story on that. And I got this from Gary Holcomb, the former commissioner of the Housing Commission, I should say. And this is straight from him, so I'm not talking hearsay. I spoke directly to him to get all this straight and feather it out, so when people hear things, do your homework. That's all I have. One final thing, the Housing Committee and the IGRC Committee is meeting on the 28th of this month. And what we're doing, we're going over some new guidelines we received to figure out, we're changing what we were doing previously. So we're going over some new guidelines and getting everybody on board to move forward with this.
Thank you, trustee. Question? Oh, question. What time?
6:30. Yes. And what we normally do, we normally run the meetings back to back, because as trustees, some of us have two committees, so instead of spreading them out. So 6:30 to 7, we try to do the housing, and then from 7 to 7:30, we try to do our IGRC, or they may flip-flop, but we try to do them back to back.
Couple things. First thing I want to say is that the Finance and Budget Committee meeting will be tomorrow at 7 o'clock here in the Rotunda. And the next thing I would like to say is I hear there's like a increase in break-ins around Sauk Village, and that I noticed that there was some lights off on Plum Creek and Nichols. Just to let you know about that. And that's all I have.
Plum Creek, in the middle, the beginning? Oh, so there's more than one light out, okay. Trustee?
The only thing I would like to bring to your attention tonight, and you may already know it, is that the concern over abandoned homes with unruly yards is really starting to creep up. And you may have at least one email in your inbox with some photos to back up some unsightliness and associated wildlife that is running rampant in at least one instance. So I would just remind you that we're starting to all hear that information being shared with all of us. That's all I have.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, and that's what we're hiring the public works. Hopefully that we'll have all that started by the end of this month or beginning of the next month. We got to go through the background checks and everything. So we're going to have a dedicated crew to come out and try to tackle just the abandoned homes, and that's one of the things we're going to start on. Thank you. Trustee Brooks.
The first meeting of the Senior Advisory Council will be Thursday, June 22nd, at the Senior Center at 5 o'clock. That's this Thursday. A draft copy of the new policy and procedure will be addressed at that time. We're looking for officers, so please submit your letter of consideration. Because the new policy and procedures, as well as amendment to Chapter 35, the document will have to go through the Ordinance and Review Committee and will not be ready when the center reopens July 1st. The Senior Advisory Council will provide copies to the board once it has been approved. I also would like to piggyback on what Trustee Tace was saying about lies and speculations, is that I'd like to bring the attention to the board that monies that properly belongs to the Village of Sauk Village should be turned over to the village clerk. However, to this date, No money has been received by the village clerk or myself. In addition to Chapter 35, which indicate that all members should surrender all effects of the previous office within 5 days after notification from the new administration, that any funds or committee is in violation of Chapter 35, and I'd like this to be put on the next agenda so we can talk about it because of the violation to Chapter 35. That's my first committee meeting. Yes, that's my first
That'll
request.
be the 16th of July.
Well, yeah, it needs to be open, and that needs to be addressed about the, this is government property that they took, and we need to address how we're gonna handle that. That's the senior center. Second thing I want to address is rumors and concerns. Recently, well, not recently, but last week, I was stopped by several residents, and they were upset about the way a couple positions have been posted and people hired. And I talked to you, Mr. Mayor, about this, that they think, and after doing some research, I think clarity needs to be made that we are in violation of certain Sauk Village codes and Illinois state statutes. So I told them I would bring it to your attention and also like to be put on the agenda so we talk about just how these positions were established, because as I understand it, the mayor can hire anybody, but it has to be with the advice and consent of the board. Now, this according to what they say, so I need some clarity on that, so we need to address that before it gets out of hand. And also, as my understanding is that trustees should also vote on appropriations for each position that's available. That was never offered to us, so that's, again, we need some clarification on that. Also, like these two, they've said because
Who's they?
the residents that we're talking to.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I said residents, didn't I say
No, you
residents?
said they just now.
Okay, residents said they think that we have an Open Meetings Act violation because it wasn't done in public. The trustees were never asked to, I guess, confirm your request. So I'm just putting it out there. We need to address this issue. So, you know, just we talk about reform, open and honest government, so there shouldn't be any problems on how we should be willing to go back and correct this error or either address this error. They asked, residents asked, so I'm passing on the information. And that's the end of my report. Although I asked that they put on, both items be put on the agenda for the next committee meeting on July, what is that, 16th?
Now, your committee.
Yes.
When are they gonna meet?
Thursday at 5 o'clock.
No, not senior committee, your committee. You have a senior committee is the ad hoc committee.
Okay.
Your committee that you have that I had appointed to the public safety.
I haven't started on that yet.
Okay, that's your committee.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I was asking you, when is that? And then also the senior committee that is at June 22nd at what time?
5 o'clock. And we have made the changes that you requested to the policy.
I want to see the policy before you disseminate it to your.
You did.
No, I gave it back to you after I got through doing.
I made those changes.
Okay, I want. That's what I'm saying. I want to see that before you give it, before you guys at your committee vote on it. I want to see what it's changed to.
Okay.
Because we're running in a time constraint as far as because the board needs to see something what's going on before they open that door. But that's something that we're that they need to look at and see what it is that they're going to be voting on. So the board should kind of see that before they vote on it.
Okay.
The other thing that you talked about as far as what happened in Open Meetings Act had nothing to do with voting. So I don't know where that comes from. But
relaying the message.
I'm not going to go back and forth, trustee. We talked about this, and my question to you is if you want to, if this is what you want to do, have a special meeting with action to be taken. Remember we talked about that on the phone? And if you want to take action against the appointments that I made or anything that happened, you can do that as a trustee, but you have to call a meeting. You have to have it disseminated to whoever many, it takes at least 3 trustees to call a special meeting. It takes 4 to 10. And at that meeting, you can change the actions that were taken at that time. So if you want to do that, but I'm not going to have a special session for just that. You can have that meeting and you can call if that's what you want to do. If you feel that, and there's any trustee, if they feel that they want to change some actions that were taken, you can have a special meeting with action to be taken. Make sure you add that on the action to be taken and have your special meeting. You can bring that out, have a vote if you need to vote. That's why you put on the action to be taken and go from there. But to bring this back and forth at a board meeting, no. So you can do that as trustees. The trustees have the power to call a meeting at any time, as long as they have 3 trustees to sign the proper documentation, which the clerk has that documentation, and 4 elected officials to be at that meeting. You can have that meeting. So that's something that you can do, and if you want to do that at that time, that's no problem.
Well, Mr. Mayor, the only reason I didn't want to have a special meeting because I don't think it warrants.
But you said that the actions that were taken were wrong.
I didn't say it was wrong. I said it didn't warrant a special meeting. You know, what I was saying is to have dialogue in front of the residents so they could come and see that we are willing to look at issues that they're bringing up. And you said bring it on a special meeting. I said, well, I don't think it's necessary because it doesn't affect the health and safety of the community. I don't think it's that important. But to me, I think if we sit and talk, residents look, they might have a better understanding of what went on. So I don't want it to be a special meeting. I want it to be on a discussion about things.
It has to be a special meeting. We're not going to have a discussion back and forth at a board meeting or any other type of meeting like that that's called. If you want to have something that's special, which it is special because it's a special item that you're talking about. So yes, it is a special meeting. And if it's on the appointments that I made, then yes, that's what you do, have a special meeting on those appointments, field whatever questions that want to be fielded. But to have it on a board meeting and we're conducting business, because the board meetings are for conducting business. The committee meetings are for talking about things that we're going to vote on or may not vote on. That's what the committee meetings are. We discuss what we're going to vote on the following meeting, which is the business meeting, which is the board meeting. But what you're talking about is something that happened before. So if you want to bring that up at that particular point in time, then yes, that's what the special meetings are for.
Well, I'll let them know. That's the end of my report.
Mr. Mayor.
But I do need to see the policy that you came up with after I made the corrections. So I want, because that center there has everybody's interest in mind. And you saw what happened when we made the decision to revamp. So before we bring that back in play, I want to see what it is that I saw what you had. I went through it, I edited a few things. I want to see now what it is before it gets to that point, because I don't want to open that center up and it has too many problems with it, or I need to see at least what it is that you're going to implement in that, because what it was there, what I saw was something different. So I just want to see that. And then we need to disseminate it to the trustees. And like I said, we've had time to do that. I know it's the last minute. Now it is the last minute. We don't have another meeting, another committee meeting before that. So I'm sure that, you know, you can get this out. I need to see it, and hopefully we can get the trustees to see it also. But your June 22nd meeting, which is for that, I'd like to see this before you present that to them. I'm sure you got it in writing that you get ready to present.
I can give it to you tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor. One thing that's being mentioned, and it should have been covered in newly elected officials, it was when I attended. The fact is that the mayor has the authority to appoint whomever he or she wants to. And if the board decides against it, the mayor still has 30 days to appoint someone else or appoint the same person. That's the mayor's choice. Now, when The last administration appointed 2 people. It was the police chief and the village administrator. And if you were present, you knew that those were challenged by some of the board members. But the mayor has the authority to do that if he or she wants to. Okay, I didn't interrupt you, so please don't interrupt me. Okay, thank you. So I think that should have been covered in the newly elected officials. If it wasn't, then probably contact whoever gave that training and ask them specifically the question about appointments, and let them give you some guidelines on how appointments work and how they don't work. But that's what I learned when I attended, and I'm sure the laws probably should not have changed that much. That's all I have.
Is that all, trustee?
Just,
Is this regards?
yeah, it's regarding something that Trustee Brewer just mentioned. If there's a concern about seeing this document that you're talking about, should we consider a special meeting next week before the board meeting to discuss and
She's
review?
gonna have a meeting on the 22nd, which is,
Okay.
what, 3 days, or Thursday?
Too late.
So I just want to, before it goes out, I want to see what's going out. I mean, because it's a lot riding on it, as we saw before. So I'm just hoping that, you know, before it goes out, before it gets voted on, or whoever's going to, what's going to happen, I just needed to, I was hoping that you would have something, trustee, today that we could, you know, but I'm just saying that because this is something that it is important, and people are looking, as you just got to saying, people are looking to see what's going on. So I just would like to see what it is that you came up with after the fact, after I edited it. So that's what I was trying to say. Okay, is there anything else? Okay. I just have a couple of things. First of all, guys, board, the budget meeting, the budgets are ready to be disseminated to the trustees today. I would like to set up a department head meeting for this Saturday, and for them to go over, they're going to get copies of their budget, what they've already, for their budget, not for everybody else's. The packets I have here are for the budget period, that you can take a look at. But I would like to schedule, because we have a deadline, we have to publish this in 30 days after we have a chance to go over with our department heads. So we're on a time frame right now. So it took us a while to get this, but this is a good budget. I want you to look at it, but I would like to have a budget budget meeting for the department heads this Saturday, so they can come before the board. For the new trustees that never done this before, they're going to come to the board. They will have already looked at what they have. They've already looked at how much money that each one of the departments are given. They may want to come in and change some things, and basically come in and beg you, can you add some more money to their budget? So, but at least they get a chance to come, you get a chance to hear and see how this whole thing works. I would like to start it this Saturday. Does anybody have a problem? I'd like to start this Saturday at 8 o'clock and hopefully get out of here before noon. And each department head will be here that has a budget. And there's a schedule being set up, but I just need to find out right now a consensus that it will be okay to do that. And then I will get you the schedule by tomorrow, what time the different departments will be here. But I need to find out, is it okay that we schedule this for Saturday, this coming Saturday at 8 o'clock in the morning? Anybody have any problem with that?
I won't be able to make it the entire time.
Anyone else?
I'll be here today, I just can't stay too long.
No, hopefully it might not be that long, but I'm just always adding more. Okay, then we'll get you the schedule of the department heads, what time they start. We're gonna start at 8, they're gonna come in and, you as trustees will listen to what they say, and like I said, they're gonna come and talk to you, come and talk to the board. Take a look at that, it has everything in it. It's a pretty decent, real decent budget. But I asked for a, surplus, because we do have an aging report, so that you know. You're gonna look on there, you're gonna see what the surplus is. And that surplus is put there so we can start paying down our aging report. Because if we pay the aging report down with what they have on their budget, it is not a true budget. Yes. Yes. I thought you might. No, you didn't know. I'm sorry. Yes, you do need to begin. And last thing, board, before you leave tonight, could you please leave the village clerk with the name and the way you want your name to be shown on ordinances and legal documents? Because there was some things back and forth, so she needs to know exactly how you want your name to appear on legal documents. With no other, yes.
Is it possible to? Is it possible to get the previous budget copy?
You should say last year's budget should be in there.
It's going to be in here too?
It should be in there,
Okay.
what it was last year. So yeah, that's what it shows. It shows you what we did last year, what was proposed last year, what actually they did, and then what the budget is for this year. And that should be in there. So you have between Tuesday and Saturday to read on that. Any other questions?
So just for clarity's sake here, when it's saying 2016-17 current year projected, it's actuals where available projections elsewhere?
No, the projections were what was projected for 2016-17. Then it should show actual.
You've got an approved budget, current year projected, and 2017-18 proposed. It's somewhere on a different set of pages.
Okay, you said, okay, your 2016 approved budget.
Right.
And then actually, what actually took place, in other words, what we actually, depending on what it is, the revenue or the expense, what was actually happened. And then what is proposed on 2017-18. So the approved budget is what was approved. The current year projected, in other words, what we actually did do. And then the last part is...
Okay, because generally projections are your expected, not your actuals. That's why I was asking, is it actuals where you have them and still projections
yes,
where you don't?
That's actuals, yes.
Okay.
You gotta understand that right now, the budget was supposed to be done by May, but now we're going into July, so. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. There's no more questions. All in favor? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.